For people who don't know, give me the elevator pitch of the free ride.
So the free ride is, as you know, it's an electric car service. So we focus on micro transit, 0 to 2 miles, and we use electric cars to not only benefit the environment but also to cut out the cost of fuel. And then we work with sponsors and/or municipalities to fund the service.
I mean, I've known you for years, but what was the original conception of the business?
It started actually as a beach shuttle in the Hamptons. So there's a big problem with parking at the beach. A lot of people driving around, crowded parking lots, honking, burning fuel. And at the same time, there was an underutilized parking lot about 1.5 miles away. So we said, kicked around the idea of doing a beach bus, driving people back and forth about 1.5 miles, and then kind of put that on the back burner. We sort of resurfaced the idea a few years later when we decided to make it free. And how do you make it free? Well, we'll use electric cars, again, to cut out the cost of fuel. And then we'll work with various sponsors. So over the years, we've worked with companies like JetBlue and Corona and Vita Coco and Vineyard Vines and Millie and L'Oreal, Coca-Cola, all sorts of companies. And they wrap the cars and create sort of a brand experience for the consumer. And in turn, give them a free ride as well.
Yeah, and so talk to me a little bit about that brand experience. So what does that entail?
We try to create a brand journey, and that's something that's evolving. And as the service grows, we've also sort of tried to expand the product offering from an advertiser's perspective. So in some cases, you can use our Ride Request app, which will be sort of your first touch point with the brand that we're working with. And then from there, the car comes, and they're sort of odd-looking electric shuttles, and so there's sort of a curb appeal factor to them as well. Then you get in. Once you get in the car, sometimes you're given a giveaway, which I think you've been the recipient of before. That might be a sample from a brand or a branded giveaway, t-shirts, water bottles, things like that. On the inside, we have video ads that run similar to like a taxi TV. They also double as photo booths, so you can take a selfie in the car and email it to yourself. And then we have various other giveaways and things like that in the car. Our drivers work as great brand ambassadors too. They tell a little bit more about the story of the business and how the brand is involved with funding the service.
You know, I guess from like a startup perspective, like I would think, oh, like I want to take any advertiser who wants to advertise with me. I guess what is your vetting as factors working with a brand?
Yeah, so I mean, there's always, you know, we've been thrown some opportunities, you know, from tobacco companies and things like that we don't agree to. So there is some vetting. It has to be somewhat on brand. We also want to make sure that it's going to work for the client too. So, you know, if you're advertising with us and, you know, you're advertising something that doesn't really apply, then we'll be upfront and say that this probably isn't your best media format.
Can you talk about a little bit what the brand of the free ride is, or like what the company culture is like?
Sure. So I mean, we have a growing team, and we try to, you know, keep the drivers happy. They are sort of the face of our business. It started as a beach shuttle, and we're conscious of that. It's really evolved to more than that now. We operate in 17 different cities, and it's turned into a more robust transportation service. Yeah. So we try to keep the brand, you know, somewhat neutral in a lot of ways, but keeping a consistent, green, eco-friendly, lighthearted nature about it.
Tell me the states that you're in again.
So we're in New York, out in the Hamptons, New Jersey on the Jersey Shore, down in South Florida, and then Texas we recently added. Houston and Dallas will be starting soon.
Cool.
And then out in California, we're in Santa Monica, Venice, Marina del Rey, San Diego, and then more recently last week we started Long Beach.
What are some of the challenges of running like a bicoastal business?
There's a lot. You know, obviously I travel a lot. My business partner James, you know, really handles a lot of the operations. So fortunately we've had some regional managers. Jason is really our partner out here in LA, who's done a lot of the legwork in getting things up and running here. So we're able to kind of use the local resources and you know, create some systems to help maintain consistency amongst the services.
There's a figure on your website that says you've saved over 21,000 gallons of gas while still, you know, providing all this great transportation to people. Like that's amazing.
I mean, I guess every day we save more.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously using electric cars, there's zero emission vehicles, which has really helped. We've actually given right around just over 2 million rides since we first started. So that's again, that number is growing every day. There's very few transportation options that are really focusing on 0 to 2 miles. And when you look at a lot of the city plans and you speak with city planners, there's a big first mile, last mile gap found in a lot of transportation systems. So why aren't people taking the train? Well, because a lot of times there's a mile between the train and their office.
Yeah.
So if we're able to bridge that gap in an eco-friendly way, then we're getting less single occupancy vehicles on the road and ultimately reducing traffic, congestion, and then obviously them being electric helps with some of the air quality standards as well.
This seems to be super disruptive.
In a good way.
In a good way. So, would you say that, like, you know, Uber and like all these like other ride-sharing companies, would you consider them to be competition of yours?
I don't think so, and I really don't, because if you look at the average Uber ride nationally, it's significantly more than what ours is.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, I mean, our average ride is just over a mile.
Yeah.
So it's really that distance that's longer than you'd want to walk, and a lot of times the fares, you know, if you were to take another rideshare or a taxi company or another form of transportation less than a mile, it's normally a fare that the driver doesn't want. So we position the service in a way that we're collecting a lot of short rides versus doing longer rides. So we like that turnover where a lot of other services don't. So I think in that regard, it's kind of an apples to oranges comparison.
Where do you see the future of the free ride going?
The plan is to continue to grow. I mean, I think what's exciting is not only, you know, being an entrepreneur, wanting to grow the business, but seeing that 2 million number and the reduction in greenhouse gases and all that really, you know, causes us to even want to grow it more. And the other interesting thing is, you know, unlike other businesses where you might open a new city, we really need to look at it a lot more granularly. So Santa Monica has its certain needs, Venice has its certain needs, and really kind of continuing to replicate the model in a modified way for each area. So grow is currently the goal, and I think, you know, we can really reduce a lot of traffic and encourage larger format transportation by being sort of that glue at the end of the puzzle.